What's up, everybody? The man from Jersey back at it, bringing you my 5 teams from the 1990s that I would like to see included in the next 2K game. If you haven't yet, go check out my top teams from the 2000 and 2010s. I'll leave a link in the description for those videos, as well as an option to view them at the end of this video. If you have watched those videos, you know the rules, but if you haven't, just know that these are not the best teams from the 90s or are in any specific order by talent. Rather, I listed these teams in chronological order by year. Lastly, I tried to stray away from the redundant 90s teams such as the Bulls, as they have about 3 to 4 90s teams included in 2K19. Anyway, enough talking. Without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we have the 1990 Boston Celtics. The 1990 Celtics finished the regular season with a record of 52-30. They finished 4th in the East, but were ousted in the first round by the Knicks in a hard-fought 5-game series. The Celtics would actually lead this series 2-0 before losing the final 3 games of the series. So yep, the Celtics blew a 2-0 lead. Aside from their disappointing round 1 exit, this season had more than enough storylines for the Celtics. For starters, Larry Legend was voted an All-Star and held season averages of 24.3 points, 9.5 rebounds, and 7.5 assists per game. During this season, third-year pro Reggie Lewis would ensure that his '89 campaign was not a fluke, as he averaged 17 points per contest. Lastly, this season will be the late Dennis Johnson's final season, as he would retire at season's end. While the very similar '86 Celtics are already featured in 2K, I would love to see this Celtics team included out of homage for the late Reggie Lewis, who died on July 27, 1993 after suffering cardiac arrest during the 1993 offseason. Lewis had previously shown signs of heart complications after collapsing during Game 1 of the Celtics' 1993 first-round matchup against the Charlotte Hornets. Game 1 would prove to be Lewis's last career game. Now, I'm aware that getting Lewis's likeness in a video game could be both a difficult and touchy subject, but as a fan of NBA basketball, I would love to see his inclusion in the next 2K game. Next up, we have the 1993 Phoenix Suns. It's pretty obvious by now that certain legendary players have been excluded from the franchise for a number of reasons, and Charles Barkley is one of them. While it seems like a long shot to get Barkley to sign off on being included in the 2K franchise, we can still hold out for some hope. The 93 version of Barkley was arguably his most dominant version, as he was awarded the Most Valuable Player award after leading the Phoenix Suns to a league-best 62 wins. Barkley finished the 93 season with averages of 25.6 points, 12.2 rebounds, and a career-high 5.1 assists a game. Barkley was also very efficient, as he shot 52% from the field. But this Suns team had more options outside of their MVP. The 93 Suns roster also had players such as Danny Ainge, Dan Marley, Cedric Ceballos, Tom Chambers, and an all-star guard Kevin Johnson. This Suns team will make it all the way to the NBA Finals, where they were one of the many teams to fall victim to Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. The series went 6 games, with several games coming down to the final minutes, including a triple overtime Game 3 victory for the Suns. The Bulls will close out the series in Game 6 with a 1-point victory. Overall, this Suns team is one of the most exciting teams in their franchise's history and should only be included in 2K if they can get Barkley's permission, because, we definitely don't want another depleted team like the 04 Pistons in 2K, right? Next up are the 1995 San Antonio Spurs. The 95 Spurs finished the regular season with a league-best 62 wins. This season also marked the best regular season record in the Spurs' history up until that point. Furthermore, David Robinson played like a man possessed that season and was rewarded with the 1995 Most Valuable Player award. On the season, Robinson averaged 27.6 points to complement his 10.8 rebounds and absurd defensive numbers of 3.2 blocks and 1.7 steals per contest. Robinson finished in the All-NBA and All-NBA Defensive First Team for the 3rd time in his career. The 95 Spurs also finished in the top 5 in both offensive and defensive ratings. The Spurs' defensive wall was anchored by Robinson and fellow All-Defensive First Team player Dennis Rodman. This Spurs team had other solid contributors such as Sean Elliott, Vinny Del Negro, and the Little General, Avery Johnson. In the playoffs, the Spurs would lose in the conference finals to the eventual champion Houston Rockets in 6 games. Despite their playoff disappointment, this is arguably the best version of David Robinson, and his '95 Spurs team should be given some proper recognition. Next up, we have the 1997 Houston Rockets. During the '96 offseason, the Rockets would acquire then 10-time All-Star Charles Barkley from the Phoenix Suns for Sam Cassell and Robert Horry, 2 key pieces in their 1995 championship team. The acquisition of Barkley gave the Rockets a big three of Clyde Drexler, Barkley, and Hakeem Olajuwon. While it's always a gamble bringing together 3 ball-dominant players onto one team, the '97 Rockets had high expectations and they did not disappoint. The Rockets finished the regular season with a record of 57-25 and even finished in the top 10 in both offensive and defensive ratings. The Rockets' big three would combine for over 60 of the Rockets' points per game. Furthermore, in Barkley's first game with the Rockets, he would pull down an insane 33 rebounds in a 110-95 win over his former team, the Phoenix Suns. In the playoffs, the Rockets would advance to the conference finals, where they would lose to the Utah Jazz in 6 games. The Rockets would take a major step back in the following season, only winning 41 games in what would prove to be Clyde Drexler's final season. The '97 season would also be the last conference finals appearance for the Rockets until 2015, where they would lose to the Golden State Warriors. It's very rare to find a team with 3 top 100 players of all time on the roster who can all still contribute on the court. For this reason, I would love to see the '97 Rockets be included in 2K20. But once again, we're waiting on Barkley's approval before anything can be done. And lastly, we have the 1997 Washington Bullets. Now I know what you're thinking, the '97 Bullets? And while the '97 Bullets weren't an iconic team from the '90s, this team has some gems on them. To begin with, the Bullets' top 3 players were easily Rod Strickland, Chris Webber, and Juwan Howard, which for the time was not a bad top 3 to have. Rod Strickland was one of the better point guards at that time, as he averaged 17 points a game to go along with 9 assists per contest. In the front court, the ever-improving Chris Webber was averaging 20 points and 10 rebounds per contest, while Juwan Howard was averaging a respectable 19 points and 8 rebounds per contest. The big three of the Wizards averaged 56 points per game, which averaged out to just below 19 points apiece from Strickland, Webber, and Howard. But there are more gems to this Wizards team than meets the eye. This Wizards team also featured a young Ben Wallace before he became arguably the best defensive player of the 2000s decade. Also on this team was sharpshooter Tim Legler before his days as an analyst on ESPN. Lastly, before appearing in the Eminem My Name Is music video, 7'7" Georgie Muresan was patrolling the paint for this Wizards squad. The '97 Bulls finished the regular season with 44 wins, good for 8th in the Eastern Conference. In the playoffs, the Wizards did not make any noise and were ousted in a 3-game sweep by the eventual champion Chicago Bulls. But despite all this, I believe the Wizards' big three of Strickland, Howard, and Webber, along with their hodgepodge of role players, should earn them a nod in the next 2K game. I mean, honestly, why have the '06 Grizzlies in the game if you can't include these Wizards, right? And that's going to wrap it up for my top 5 teams from the '90s that I would like to see added to 2K20. Let me know in the comments below if I left any teams off or which teams you would remove from this list. Let's get an overall good discussion going on. Just be respectful with it. We're all grown-ups here. Like, comment, subscribe, and click on the thumbnails on the screen if you'd like to check out my other teams from other decades that I would like to see added in NBA 2K20. With that said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay sucker free, enjoy your day, and stay blessed. The man from Jersey checking out. Peace.